How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we've got a breakdown of the Manchester Star Wars event that happened this previous weekend on the Saturday and Sunday. And before we just go through it, because we've got it was probably it was the biggest event we've had in the UK so far, and also is the biggest offset too as well. And it was a lot of fun, very well ran and organized by OPE. And we're just going to go and break down what happened on there, like with the top cut, the list, and everything, all the information you've got to want to know about the event. We're just going to do it here. But do remember to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps the channel out greatly. Helps you get to on my way to my goal of 2,000 subs. Because we're halfway there now. I'll do a giveaway at some point because we have hit halfway there. We're 1,500 at the moment, and we're trying to get as quick as we can, or as up to 2,000 as possible. But do help. You can help that channel by like, comment, subscribe, and also you can get the notification bell to let us basically to get notified to when my videos do drop, and then get alerts to when they do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time that suits you best. So now we got that spelled away, let's get into the breakdown of the Manchester event for Star Wars Unlimited. So, as I said, this one was hosted by OPE, and it had 170 players. So 170 players is the biggest event we've had in the UK, and also the biggest one for Set 2 currently. And it was hosted over 2 days. So we got down at the bottom here, we got the tournament structure. It was over 2 days. So for the Saturday, it was 8 rounds of Swiss, best of 3, and the top 8 of that went on to go on to day 2 for a similar single elimination best of 3 as well. And not only that, like they had UKG, it was also open deck list, so you can see when after you paired, or after the round paired, who, like, what you're playing against and their entire list, so what they're maining, what they're siding stuff at, which I don't really like. I understand that makes it is helpful to kind of like at least to know what you're playing against before you sit down. It gives means like get your head in the game, get your strategy going. But to see the actual deck list and know what they're teching, what they're like maining and siding and stuff it feels weird to me, just because I've come from like other card games where you don't really get that knowledge of the open deck list. You get to see what they're playing and stuff like that, or you play against them, know what they're playing, but you don't get to see what they've got sided, all their text and stuff. That comes as a surprise. That's when you like, I've never had it where you get to know that. But for this, you get to actually see the deck list, which is interesting. Like, and as I said, I do like it to see what you're playing against, like what leader you're playing against, the combination, because that kind of matters. So you can kind of get your head in the game for a strategy to build up, ready for when you sit down and play. But to see all the deck lists, to see exactly like, oh, okay, I'm not playing this, I have to worry about this kind of stuff, like, is kind of beneficial because then you know what you have to worry about or what you have to worry about. But then it's kind of takes away any surprise you might have had in your list, to kind of like catch people off guard, which is what I do like in this game. But it was a big tournament as well. Whereas 170, you would like the only kind of gripe I do have is that with 170, you could have probably had top 16 for like give a chance. Because if you look at it for the event, there's one undefeated, and I think there were, if I remember correctly, up to 6, so 5 X1s, and all the way down from 7th place to 24th, there were X2s. And it meant that only, as a top 8, it meant only 2 of the X2s got in, so 2 lucky X2s managed to get in. But if we went down to 16th, it would have meant that 8 lost out. And I reckon it could have been top 16 with how many players we had, to then have a slightly longer day 2 being an extra round, but would have been for a kind of a better play, because with that many people just top 8, only 2 lucky X2s getting in, which seemed a bit odd, but it is what it is. But I reckon it could have gone on to top 16 and give more people a chance, because they did have pricing all the way down to top 16 as well. So with the pricing for it, it was for the winner, they got a case of Set 2, they got a Grogu promo signed by 3 of the game designers, these 3 here, and then also they got a FSNES exclusive playmat, a double deck pod, the Star Wars ones, I can't remember what brand they are, but the double deck pod and the aspect pin badge. I think they got a whole set of that. And in the second place, they got 2 boxes, a promo as well, a Grogu promo. So they got the same thing, apart from they got only 2 boxes instead of a case. In the third and fourth, they got the exact same thing. It's just they got instead they got a 1 box instead of 2 or a case. They went down to top 8 pricing, so if you made from the top 8, didn't make it to the like 4th and above, then you got half a box, a playmat, a double deck pod, and a pin bag. I think it wasn't just one pin badge; it was a whole set. I think it might have been. I think it was just a whole set, or it might have been just for a place that's supposed to get a set, or it might be a badge. It's like the aspects on a little pin. Not the greatest looking pins, but they look cool. And then it went all the way down to top 32 with pricing. So we got top 16, you got the extra 6 packs, a double deck pod, and a badge. And then for top 32, you got an additional 6 packs if you made top 32. So I kind of stacks on top for each one. I think it stacks. It might not stack, or it might be just it. I'm not sure if it stacks. It might not have backstacked actually, thinking about it, because I don't know if champion would have got all. I don't know if the champion would have got top 8 or top 8 and top 16 as well, but it could be just that's what they got for each placing. And then for participation, you essentially got a 3 packs and a Grogu promo, which is not too bad, especially since it was 20 quid. That was pretty decent. Like, it's sure that doesn't cover the whole packs, but it covers the same price as a draft, but you get a promo and then you get a chance to get more, which is quite cool. So it's supposed to be up to, it said the rounds were up to 9 rounds of Swiss, depending on the attendance. So as 170, we had 8 rounds, and the cap was 384, which was pretty decent. Pretty decent cap. Not expected to really hit it at the moment with like the early game, where like it's still growing, it's quite new. But it hit 170, was really good, and 8 rounds was pretty nice. 55 minutes, which is plenty of time to play out the game, and then best of 3 format was amazing, and it started pretty nicely. It started, as from what I recall, it started on time and no issues or anything like that, and at times went pretty smoothly. Like, it felt like it went pretty quickly, but playing the game with like best of 55 minutes after not doing that for a while, especially not with 8 rounds either with this many players, it felt like it went on and on. Like, it felt like such a long weekend. But given the number of players and number of round stuff, that is to be expected. Like, I haven't been in a game where we've had this amount of rounds in the best of 3 as well for a good while. So after playing, we had the pairings. We got these meta game as well, so we can see what kind of decks. So as I said, 170 decks, 170 players that were in it, and we can see the breakdown of the leaders. So we've got like a lot of leaders. I don't know. I haven't gone through properly to see if there are any leaders that never got played. I probably should check that beforehand. But we can see there are some some leaders that only had one copy of, one played. So there's one crazy person running IG8, ended up going 4-4. We got a Leia as well, so Leia's still in there, quite low. Like, I remember Leia was quite popular in the beginning because it's very aggro, but then like Speed was a lot better, and that once also went 4-4. We have one Mando went in, then dropping after round 5 because he went 1-4, and then one Lando that did pretty well. Like, only one Lando did pretty well, coming in at a 6-2 record, which is pretty good, bringing it up to a 75% win ratio, which is really nice. So one copy of Lando, showing that Lando is actually pretty decent, and coming into at least the top 24. Then going on, we had some some leaders that had only 2 copies. So we had 2 Kylo, and my buddy Olmo was playing one of the Kylo. It brought about a lot of hype as well because he was playing Kylo Green and doing pretty well. After round 3, he was undefeated. Undefeated is 3-0, and we kept hearing a lot of chat about people talking about Kylo Green doing pretty well in the tournament. You saw him on stream as well, so if you want to check out the OPC stream, I think it's still up to view. And I think thanks to his record with the Ever1, bring up to a 57% win ratio for the Kylos, going like 8 wins and 6 between them. I think the Ever1 went 3-3. And the other one was a yellow one. So there's a yellow Kylo and a green Kylo in there, kind of making names and also bringing a lot of hype. As well as that, we had 2 Luke Skywalker in the tournament as well. We had 2 Hera and 2 Krennic, 2 Bo-Katan, and 2 Grand Inquisitor as well. Like Bo-Katan, I remember our local Martin was on it. Trying to go through. I don't know why he went for that. I think I remember I asked him, and he was kind of falling off a little bit with his favourite one of Tarkin. So went and tried out Bo-Katan, tried out something a little different. Props to try something different, but I don't think it ended too well for him. And also, it's interesting to see like people still on Hera as well. Like, Hera's one I really want to try, really want to play, but it just seems like it lacks a little bit on like kind of what it wants to do. Is it like lacks as a leader, but we're hopefully with more specters and stuff in future, we'll prop that up essentially. But yeah, even like Krennic, this is one I thought would be more upsetting because people were like debating between Krennic and Kira, but I guess more people decided Kira was better than Krennic, which I would agree. And yeah, not nothing really to say about Grand Inquisitor and Luke. They're not the most popular, well, not the most popular leaders, but also not the best given what we've got now. And then going up, we had a few more. So we had 3 copies of Cad Bane and Iden. Quite interesting. Like Iden is one of those ones that's more like a hard control deck focused, but then would have had, I think, can battle a little bit against aggro a little bit easier, because if you go double blue with it, which is probably the best way to play it, then you can get like advantage of having a 4-cost vigilance to heal and remove little things like against aggro, which is pretty good. So I can see actually here if it was what ones they were. So we got we got Iden green, an Iden blue, so we get a double blue, and a Iden red. So one of almost each. So the best one going through being well, because the other 2 dropped after certain rounds. So we have like the Iden what was this again? Iden red. Yeah, Iden red dropping after round 3. The Iden blue, double blue dropping after round 7. Because imagine they couldn't make top. They thought they couldn't make top 32 after getting 3 losses, so this dropped. And then also a Iden green going to the best, placing 57th. It's not too bad. So yeah, not all Iden blues I expect. So Iden blue I thought would be the better one, but then yeah, the Iden blue that was there dropped after round 7 because they couldn't make top 32. And also Cad Bane. This is one that is pretty cool. Is pretty good deck, pretty interesting, but it's one of those ones where it's in the same category as Boba, being both cunning and villainy. And when you've got a leader like Boba being one of the probably the best or one of the best decks in the meta that does so much in the same aspects, then you've got to think about what does it do over Boba, and most of the time you're going to want to play Boba instead of Cad Bane, unless you like the playstyle Cad Bane, or which is pretty good still, or the character himself, then you're mostly going to go Boba, because Boba is just better than Cad Bane. And then for decks that had 5 of each, we had Grand Moff Tarkin coming in. I imagine this is mostly yellow Tarkin. And then Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon being one that didn't do very well. Like same with Cad Bane as well, didn't do very well for its performance, because only 17% for Gar and also 21% for Cad Bane. Going only 5 wins across the 5 players for Gar Saxon and 3 players for Cad Bane, and a ton of losses, which isn't great. Same with Grand Inquisitor as well, doing very poorly, a lot more losses than wins, which is probably why a lot of people didn't play it, because it's not the greatest in commenting as well. But Tarkin was one of the ones that I was expecting potentially to be a little bit more of, at least in double digits, because it's one of those ones that has the kind of scary thing of if you get the spaceship out and get enough experience on it, it's very hard to take down, because where it can't be, it can't really be damaged, captured, or defeated by effects from your opponent. So it means the only way you can get rid of it is by bouncing it back to hand, or by minusing its power down to 0, or by minusing its health down to 0, or by doing combat combat. So unless you're yellow, it can bounce it. Blue, it can minus the power of it, or be able to attack it like big enough unit, which is normally in the dark side, to be able to take it out in a swing. Then you're normally going to have a hard time dealing with it after that. But this is one that I thought would do a lot better, but not many been played, and it didn't do the best, having a lot more losses than wins. So not really going with a positive or even ratio. And Gar Saxon just, yeah, it's not like if you're going for a dark blue, like a villainy blue leader, you're normally going for a Kira, or imagine Iden or Krennic. He's not the most popular out of those ones. And then for the ever decks we had that didn't go into the double digits, we have Rey, Yellow Hand, which I was on myself, and then Palpatine. So not like a lot more Palpatine than I thought there'd be. I thought, considering that aggro is quite popular, and Palpatine isn't one that I thought would have many, but 9 is still pretty good. Quite a few of them, and I think even 2 in the top 8 as well made it. So I imagine they dodged a fair few of the Sabine, because there's a lot of Sabine. And then we got the 8 Han Solos. I imagine most of them would have been double yellow, but I did see some some yellow the set one hand, because this is set one hand. So I imagine most of them are double yellow, but there was also, I saw some on the green as well. And we got Rey as well, with at least 1 making it in top 16. I saw it was on Red Rey, and then 1 in top 8 as well, which we'll go over in a bit. so good amount of red. But even then, they all have a more like higher than positive, like more positive win ratio overall. Didn't the leaders we had in double digits? We've got going up to the ones that didn't go like in the basically 10 and above. We've got Vader, so 10 copies of Vader, 16 of Bosk, 18 of Kira, and 19 of Set 2 hands, which you get like Zumna Zuhan, I think it's called, for the green version, and then you've got the blue hand for the blue version, of course. So pretty nice here. Like Kira is the only one out of these three. Well, the Kira and Vader both have like a more of a negative win ratio than the other two. Vader going all the way down to 35, so a lot more losses than wins, which is surprising. But then imagine this is could be split between the control, like the hard control version with blue, or the mid range version with green. Because I know there's the whole thing of like you've got both Boss that plays in green and Vader, both in the same aspects with green, and Boss kind of has more with this a bit more interesting kind of route with the like, bounties than Vader. Vader's still a pretty nice one as well. It's pretty strong. So once you deploy leader, it's quite a powerful deploy. And Bosk being very well represented as well, with even my buddy BO Notation represented as well, getting into 14th place, hitting top 16 with Bosk. I think the highest playing Bosk in the tournament. And pretty good show of that. Like a lot of them, I expected to be a fair few. Bosk is a pretty nice deck, and it's one that can ramp pretty quickly to get, because the whole appeal of it, I think, is to like ramp pretty high so you can start dropping out those big units quickly, which is called like great drag and stuff like that. Kira, this is one that one of the last ones, so I expected this to be, well, not when I mean the last one, I mean the Leicester event, and I'd expect there to be more of this coming in after its win, and there were quite a few, but then still quite a lot more losses than wins for this one, when it would be expected considering there are a lot of beans in Han Solo. One that one of the one of the four. The top four here are probably the four I'd expected to go in. With some of them I expect to see potentially as like favorites among like the community. But like Han Solo's one because you can play in two different ways, green or blue. With the blue one being the more popular I've seen so far. Because I think especially with Leicester, there was only one green hand set two hand, or two set two. Might have been two. But then it is one that's more popular in blue than it is green. But green is very, very powerful because access to ELC, you can sort the same thing as Speed, with access to like ESCO in Wrecker and Poe, which is really good for it, and even then cheating things out that are a lot bigger for cheaper thanks to its effect. Then the top two decks being Boba Fett having 21 copies of this as well. I imagine that most of them being double yellow. I think we saw from the stream there was a red one, and we know at least there was a green one as well. I'm not sure if there was a blue one, but might have been. There could have potentially been all different versions of Boba, but then once again, this one being one of the ones to expect the most, and with probably with the highest percentage with multiple entrants. So from the from the double digits. I said double digits in terms of quantity, having the highest win percentage because just Boba is so great. It's just so generic with the effect untapped resource, just amazing, and just the potentially stuff it has. And then we got Sabine, where this is the one that we had would have the most copies in the deck. So the most people playing in the event were playing Sabine, and while there were a lot of Sabine, it did seem like a lot were quite brand new players, because the reason I say this is because it didn't do as well with only one really hitting the top 8, and even in the top higher than that top lot, there weren't too many that managed to get that high, because it's more popular because it's one of the best decks that can be built cheaply. So it's one of the more budget top decks, because you don't really need to have Poe. Record's not too cheap. Well, Record's not too dear, and Poe isn't really that needed. So there's not many legendaries you need to put in, like get for the deck, and most of the deck is rares, commons, uncommons. So building Sabine is quite easy for anybody wanting to get in or like play a competitive deck quite cheaply. And I imagine that was a lot of them were new players that get into the game trying it out as well. Hence why it was so high. Like you could argue that it was more because like Kira won the last event, so people brought a lot of that to kind of combat that, expecting it to be more. But it's a beginner friendly deck that is also quite cheap to build and very easy to pilot at a basic level. If you want to get into more competitive, it can to be as best it can be. It needs more of a skillful pilot, but even then, it's one of those ones you can play at a basic level and still do quite well. like sort of very beginner friendly deck. So that is the top. That is basically the breakdown from the event. So what the decks we have. Once again, I can't remember if any deck, if any leader was missing. Oh yeah, Chirrut. Chirrut was not played at all because I only noticed that because it's my favorite leader. I just realized it wasn't played at all. I was tempted along with Boba to play it. Like I was going with Boba, but then I switched to Han at last minute after a bit of testing the day before, which I probably shouldn't have done. But also I was tempted to go for Chirrut, but then kind of want to do a bit better because I haven't tested Chirrut against the meta. Whereas with Boba and stuff, I have. So I can't think of any ever leader it might have been. There's no Hondo. Yeah, there's no Hondo there. There's no Hunter. So there are some leaders that weren't played, and more surprisingly, like Hondo's a favorite between some people, and also like Chirrut. I know we did with red, but then yeah, Ray kind of replaces Chirrut when it comes to playing at red, and I don't see many people playing Chirrut double blue. So myself. But then for the top cut, the top cut we had was made it where so the three different decks made it with multiple sum. We had a Sabine that made it into top 8, a set 2 Han, a Ray, which is I thought was quite interesting. I'm looking forward to trying that out. We had 2 Palpatines and 3 Bobas going. I think 2 like the Palpatines were 1 double green and 1 blue green, well green blue, and then we had Boba being 2 double yellow and 1 yellow blue, yellow green, sorry, which see it a bit. So we're going to check it out and check out the top top cut because we'll have a look now. So the standings. So from top 8 we had, here's the top 8 that went on to play day 2. There we go here. So we had Sabine that came in 8th. So we'll have a look at that in a sec with the list and go over it. So 8th was Sabine green with ELC. And in 7th we had the Ray, which was Ray yellow, which we'll check out in a little bit as well and go over that. And then in 5th place, we had the Han Solo being like a set 2 Han in blue. And then the last of the top 4, or top 8 we had was a Boba double yellow in the 5th place. Yeah, that was 6th place for Han Solo, 5th place for Boba. Then top 4, we had a double green Palpatine in top 4. And then in 3rd place, we had the double yellow Boba, so both double yellows Bobas got knocked out on each different one, and it was the green Boba that managed to make first. And then for the 2nd place we had was the green blue Palpatine, the one that kind of avoided a majority of the Sabines. So we're gonna have a look at these lists and check it out. But this is the breakdown. Also, you can see if you want to check out yourself, and you can check out the link of it being down below. But we're gonna go over the deck list now. So check that out. So here's the list for Omar, one of our locals that took in Sabine. I remember he's been on Sabine as it's quite like the cheapest. He trying to play it on a little bit on a budget, and it's the cheapest one of the decks wants to play. Because I think he said he was. I have spoken to him. He said he was interested in playing Palpatine, but then picking up Vader's just a little bit out of his price limit for how much they cost at the moment. But he has been playing Sabine, liking it, enjoying it, played it very well, like working on it properly. And with the list, you might notice that there is absolutely no Poe Dameron as well. There's no Poe Dameron, and the reason for that is he just didn't have them. I think he has ordered them. I think he did order some cards, which I think it might have been a third Darksaber and some Poes, but they didn't arrive on time, so he had to play without them. And that's why you might be wondering why he has some cards like odd ratios in his list. Like I imagine he would have probably had 3 Darksaber if he had them arrive, and he would have had Poes if he had them as well. We might see seeing some differences in the list, like with the things like General Dawn and Main being a pretty cool choice, but the rest of it is pretty standards with it as well. We still like keeping in the heroic for a good way to kind of push damage, especially throwing on a Kato. So sideboard is quite nice as well for a bit more aggression in like Daring Raid, be able to 2 damage to either a unit or to a board. Sandari Peacekeeper helped with I think he said it really helped with the mirror because he's able to like push while also healing himself as well. So against the mirror is quite easy. I think he was like after the first few, because he went 3 in a row with his matchups, and because we'll see here, like with his matchups, he played against 4 of the ever 29 Sabine that are in a tournament. So he played against quite a few, and he managed to beat them all. And I think he said after the first few. After first 2, he kind of got the gist of how to play the mirror and like how to play it and his advantage in it. So he got confident with them. And his only losses were to a Boba and a Ray in the last round, and then lost out to the eventual winner as well. So pretty good with his list, and also have like same flag fighters all take out some upgrades which can help against Boba, taking off those Boba Fett's armor, and then home one for a good way to kind of defend in the space arena. Also give some jewels like recycling things that are damaged in the ground arena, and you reinforcement I imagine for the like just spam board against ever matchups. But yeah, that's his list. It's pretty nice list. He's been working on it over time as well, and just played to be as aggressive as possible. And yeah, the reason why he hasn't got some choices like a third Darksaber and a Poe is just because he didn't have access to them. So next we're gonna have a look at the 7th place player and see what 7th place is. One of my ones I'm looking forward to as well, being the Yellow Ray. So here we have the Yellow Ray deck, and this is one that I found quite interesting. I never thought to play Ray with Yellow. I think, and the funny thing about that is I've been looking at potentially playing Churro in Yellow because I just love Churro, and they're both Force units, and I was always looking to try and build like all the different versions of Churro because it's just my favorite leader. But Ray Yellow is never one I really thought of, and it is a pretty nice list. It's pretty interesting. I do have to kind of like look at the gameplay because I think he was on stream to kind of see how it was played and like how it performs, because it does look pretty cool. Because the nice thing about it is Ray kind of needs to play a turn behind if you want to get the benefit of her effect to kind of give an experience token, experience token to a unit that has 3 or less power. And you got pretty nice ones here that have quite a lot of health and not very much power. So like things like Chopper, R2, and Cartel Turncoat being ones you can get, even like C3PO and Restored Arc as well, being ones you can give experience to, like boost them up so they've got a lot of health and they're still hitting pretty decently. Like Chopper and R2, if you put some experience on, Chopper can be a 2-5, or a 3-5, while R2 is then a 3-7, which is pretty nice. And also you got some like nice ways to be aggressive, like even got the light sides option of the Crafty Smuggler being L3, L337, which can also like take like uncapture, rescue. That's the word. Rescue things that are captured. Like even though capture is like more of a draft mechanic, is not really used much in draft, like using like in competitive, in standard. You don't really see it used much, but it is something that can be used because there are some cool cards like Relentless Pursuit, which is a card that is pretty nice in yellow, and you can kind of use that to rescue. And also some pretty nice decks like the Soundwood Yellow being like Waylay to like bounce things back to hand, especially bouncing back things opponents spend a whole turn playing and use up all the resources to play, and even like Surprise Strike to get some more damage in, and even Jetpack being a very nice one to boost up a unit with a nice little upgrade and also give it shield so you can then control board with it easier without worried about damage. Interesting note is the 1 copy of Obi-Wan. I imagine just more Sentinel to go to the Mandalorian, because Mandalorian can then protect with 2 shields. So you've invested some resources in using Ray's effect to boost it up, and also giving you a Sentinel in the space arena, and then some nice 7 drops being like Luke for a very good one, and Han as well for a very nice one for ambush, and also Tobias being a nice one you could either smuggle in, thanks to it being a blue resource for its smuggle, or just playing out for a solid unit on a 4 cost 4/5 with a nice effect for when you play an event. And also confiscate as well to help take off some upgrades as well. Then for the side deck, you've got some Sentinels for both space and ground, being the Protector of Phone and Concord Interceptor, both be upgraded by a Ray, and are pretty nice Sentinels as well. 2 Rivals Fall on the side to help take out things like leaders as well, and 2 Redemptions as well that could be healing and big thing in space. So with Alex's go of it through the event, he ended up only going X1 with 6-1 with his list. No, 7. Yeah, 7-1 with his list, only losing to a Han Solo, the set 2 Han. And apart from that, like just basically going through, he did play quite a bit of Sabine. He played against a free Sabine, took all of them out, and also played throughout the event 3 Boba, only losing to one of them in the top cut, unfortunately. So losing straight out in the second day on top 8. And also played against one of the Palpatines as well, which was pretty cool. And yeah, had a very good showing. Played almost all meta. Actually, no, played all meta. All the top 4 decks you would expect, played against them all. So I had a good rundown of playing just meta. So that is 7th place, and we're going to have a look and see what top 6th place is looking like. So here we have in 6th place, we have Samuel with his Blue Hand, and it looks to be a pretty standard one. Like, interesting with the entrenchment, looks to be a bit more event heavy. I haven't really looked too much into Blue Hand, but it does look like a pretty standard outside of a few more events. Because you can see you got the Force Throw, because you've got a fair few Force units you can make use of that, like getting out a Yoda turn 1 and having this to use turn 2 is pretty nice, like discard your opponent's hand, and also potentially take out the unit and also get the full benefits, while Yoda can then heal from your base. Also some individual ones of one entrenched, one open fire, and one Father Dragon, and one Rebels Fall as well. Nice bit of removal because just in case you need it. Pidge as well to have a bit of hand control of it, and 2 tech as well, so you can start smuggling out some of the units as well. But then the interesting one is just the one entrenched in the main, which could just help with certain arenas if you want to like hold off from it if you're struggling, or even boost up your own units. So that way you can control the board while the rest of them can just go ham to base. And yeah, like pretty like interesting note why potentially why the Obi-Wan instead of the Mandalorian, unless it's like I guess because the Obi-Wan allows you to give a Force unit for Force Throw, and also then if it is then taken out and you got Force units like Kanan, Yoda, or even Han or Luke, then you've got them as benefits to get into experience. You can then draw a card as well. And yeah, makes this with the top heavy end being like free Luke, because Luke is just such a great card, giving you like just not only restore but also good stats, and then the rest of them being very good ones to like, you don't want too many copies to clog your hand. The Wilderness Tide has got some pretty interesting options, like option for a bit more hand control, having both the Force Surrender, an extra copy of both Elder Dragon and Ravel's Fall for if you need it for removal. This Living Fang Fighter being a good choice because it's then a removal for certain. It's really nice because it's a upgrade removal in the form of a body as well, rather than just an event. Like, it's more expensive than Confiscate, but then it also provides you a body in space that you can keep it then attacking with. Also, Concord all Never Servitors for a Never Sentinel, Never Space unit, because you're only running two space units, being a Green Squadron A-Wing and Redemption in the main to help deal like for space, and then he's got Concord if he needs it, Sentinel for it, and then 2 more open fires if he needs removal in like damage like that, and then 2 Mystic Protector, able to like reduce down the skills on a card, so you can go ahead and take it out, which is interesting, but you can get the benefit of making something minus 2 power and 2 health rather than just 2 power, using it if you have a Force unit on board, so making more use of the Force cards. That's pretty cool. And for Samuel, for his his run of the tournament, he ended up only like losing the first game and then going on a 7-win streak near the end after that. Like basically just going on and win everything, going against more varied of different cards, like different decks, ones you wouldn't really expect. But like played a lot of Palpatine, playing against one, like lost to one in the first round, then winning against a never one on the last, against second one in the third round, and then winning a never one in the in the last round, and then losing to one of the two that were in the top cut straight away in top 8. But a really good one, really good route. I think it was even on stream against. I don't think it was. I can't remember if he was on stream. It might not have been, but he played against quite a few different ones. Like the ones he didn't that aren't really meta that he played against were basically Bo-Katan and Gar Saxon, which is interesting. But apart from that, he played all meta. So that's it. So that is 6th place. Now we'll have a look and see how 5th did. So here we have 5th place, and it's pretty standard, like Boba Yellow. Pretty standard, like this is mostly what you expect. Like amid like a few different ratios. Got the Bodhi more in this side to make more space for a Toro in the main to be more aggressive that route. Gunship as well being more of like a favored space unit to kind of help deal with like push more damage that way. Be a stronger like cartel space that just falls short on damage, even though it's got a good amount of health. But then it's more better to have the gunship to do more damage. Also having Lepero drive, so I haven't like I've always expected to drop off a little bit for the for Bobby Yellow, but it's still a pretty good unit. So I look at opponent's hand to give more like a view on what they have. Also providing you a pretty good round unit. And then no Boba's Arm. This is one that I thought Bulbasaur is one that I've seen like some decks don't use at all, some do use, and some use lower quantities, but he chose not to use it like Bulbasaur at all, which is interesting. Cool. I would expect to see Boba's armor in most Boba decks, but to each their own. And it did do some pretty well because he managed to make top 8 as well. And with the side deck, some interesting choices there. So he's got the a copy of both Final Showdown and Change of Fire, which is pretty cool. So Change of Fire is one that I feel like, yeah, is a pretty nice one to have in the side. And also as well, a Final Showdown, so that way you've got against certain decks where you've got the energy resources out and your opponent takes the initiative, you can potentially just go and win the game from there, or even just restand everything. So if you know you're going to win, your opponent's using up most of the resources, pushing through and basically taking the game from there. Also as well, one shoot first for if he needs it, and also a second copy is like interesting that you run mained two Boba Fett. Maybe just didn't have want to keep space. I had space issues with the main, but wanted to keep Boba's in and have one inside and the three Bodhis. So I wanted to go for hand control to help against the control decks, and two Reckless Pursuit being one that can help capture something and then give a shield if it's a bounty hunter, which you can use on your leader or one of the many bounty hunters in the deck. Also, is interesting is running two new adventure in the main, which is pretty. Kind of thought would be more in the side than in the main, but it is pretty nice because you can get reuse some of your effects that are when played. So things like Katina Bouncer after they've been played already, reuse it, or even Seven Fleet Defender if you want to put back in the shield after it's lost one, or even use effects like Cartel Spacer and or put shields back in, or even use Fet's Fire Spray to do more damage after it's been deployed around already. Because it then come back inactive, so you can attack it straight away. And also, he's also maining, which I haven't seen many main, but also maybe side, is Lurking Typhoon to help with the control decks, because that way it's a unit they can't really deal with unless they attack into it. And if they aren't running many space units or get the space units to go against it, they don't have a hard time dealing with it, because it can just keep swinging for 4, but it's quite weak at 2-2, but at least that way it has an effect to kind of not be touched, apart from if they want to bounce it or defeat it in battle. And for his goal of the event, he had a pretty good run. Nope, that's not it. So that's the right one. There we go. He had a good run where he was undefeated up until the last round where he lost against the eventual winner, and then lost straight away in top 8 to one of the Palpatines as well. So that was a pretty good run. Also played against quite a lot of good matches as well. Played a lot of Boba Fett's. Played against 4 Boba Fett's during Swiss. Half of his games were Boba. Also played against two as well, 2 set 1 hands. So didn't get played against set 2 hand, just 2 set 1 hand, being quite interesting because there was only 8 of them to begin with. Played one against one Sabine, which is a pretty good matchup for him, and then against one Palpatine as well in the Swiss, and then one in Top Cup. So that is the 5th place list. Now we go head on into the top 4. So here we have 4th place being Michael Silk in with his double green Palpatine. Did pretty well during Swiss, ended up going 7-1 in it, so basically losing only 1 game during it. And pretty interesting list as well. Like I've been wanting to try out double green Palp. I've been more enjoying the yellow Palp. I do want to try it out in double green because like the maximum ramp and the cool things you can have with it. And you can see from this, it's not the standard Palpatine, like not standard you see, like probably you haven't. Most people might have seen the standard Palpatine for the double green, or might like see it's not the standard Palp because it's built more to help deal with its worst matchup being Sabine to help deal with that. It's got a lot of things to help it against aggro. It's got the nice little combo of Yularen and Salacious Crumb to help with the healing. Also, a timely intervention in there to help as well. Go ahead and like. Says he doesn't have ELC because you don't really have ELC because you're inviting your worst matchup to kill you faster, so you can get ambush in some units. Also good Sentinels in the form of Emperor's Royal Guard and Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Like the interesting thing is the lack of resupply in the main, just having 1 resupply and assigning the 2. Imagine that's just because he's got enough. Like you would think he's got enough ramp in having also Commander Super Laser Technician, but you'd think you go for the double green to max out the ramp. Only putting the 1 resupply in the main, but the other 2 when it's still in the side side of him, and also having things like Bounty Hunter's Quarry, and as ways to spam out more out of bounty, and also having in the side the the upgrade that allows you to give some extra health to one of your units and capture something that has less power, which is an interesting one because you've got a lot of like units that are just free power, which isn't that big to help capture things. But then with some aggro lists, they're trying to play like very strong things quite quickly. Imagine you can capture some units, which is quite cool, but it's not going to capture much using that effect in this unless you're using it on, say, a leader or a bigger unit later on. But you can have some interesting things like enterprising lackeys as well, something you can smuggle out to, and then can provide you always with a unit by smuggling out. And if it's defeated, then it goes back into being a resource. So you can then smuggle out again. So you can always have a unit to play, which is cool. That's a good thing for green. I thought it's quite nice. And then also having the off aspect, change of heart, be able to take out like grab units to kind of finish them off with, which is like a nice thing you can always have for as well for against when you get a later game when you go against like his control mirror, take their like big unit and you have to have a deal with it, or you get to use it to attack with if you've got the initiative. So outside of the pretty odd things, you got the pretty standard in the most of the things outside of the aggro counters. Like even having Gamorrean guys as a Never Sentinel in the main, so having maximum on that way you can help deal with it, force your opponents to go less to your base and more to your units in play. And even like Emperor's Royal Guard be a nice one that can even give you a leg up because it gets more like with Palpatine as always having a leader in play. Well, always having a leader in play or in the leader area, you can make it so it's a free 5, which is the standard for now for free drops. And even then, Agile Create as well. If you get units that being never official, you can make it to make sure Emperor's Royal Guard has Sentinel to help make sure it's then live. And Piet also then having it for the later game when you get the bigger units like Reinforcement Walker, Relentless, and Devastator being able to ambush as well, come in and ambush things to be able to attack something straight away and also get their own plays, like especially with Reinforcement Walker, be able to come in and trigger both effects because it's when one player one attacking, so either then heal 6 damage or draw 2 cards or a combination of both. And like we said, with Silk's run through the tournament, he ended up going 7-1 in the event, managed to make top 8, being one of the 7-1 X1s that guaranteed to go through, with his only loss being to Bobalus, and then managed to then go take out the only hand in the top 8, but then lost to the eventual winner in top 4. So a very good run. So that is 4th place, and we're going to head on to 3rd place. So here we have is 3rd place, and it's the last of the double yellow boba. And this one's basically just the same as the other one, like it's pretty standard, but a few slight changes. Like with this, you've got only 2 of the Hotshot Blaster, which is fair enough. Like 2 is still a pretty good number, and also this one is running Boba's armor only at 2 copies though instead of 3. It's interesting how like you get the differences between Boba's armor. Like some people not playing it at all, some people playing it a few quantities, some playing it at full free because it's such a great card. It's one that just makes Boba even harder to deal with once you do deploy it and chuck it on, literally against blue and can rivals for it. And then you got the pretty standard in this with the, but this time maining the lackeys. Only playing 1 Sockers, but I kind of get the 1 Sockers because if you want to get the full benefit of it, you need 4 on 1 play, and white is still a 5 cost 6/6, which is pretty good. Like you look at Poe, it's pretty good, and it even comes in with Saboteur as well. And if you've got 4 it's a 7/7. But you need 4 to stay on board and survive, and it's not always the case. It could kind of be like it doesn't always get to come in and ambush with 4 on the board. So only 1 copy is quite cool. Also running 3 copies of Boba Fett, and also having not only like you most see ones that have either Toro main and Bodhi inside, or like vice versa. This one has Toro in the main and also 2 Bodhis in the main, but a third one in the side, and also running only 2 copies of No Good Me Dead, which you kind of like see some fluctuation in that, which some play at 3, some play at less, but pretty standard list to be honest, but some differences, like a little bit less on the events. In the side, you got the standard of some guards and Gamorrean guards in there for a bit of Sentinel side in. Only 1 copy of Relentless Pursuit to potentially capture something and also give a shield to the bounty hunter you potentially put on. Most of the time, you can use it on the bounty hunter. And then 3 copies of the Lurker TIE Phantom to help against the control decks. Put in a space unit that have a hard time dealing with it if they commit to play something in space to deal with it. Well, it just keeps swinging for 4. And then 2 Bazine to help for a bit more hand control along with Boba, and a 3rd copy of Boba to help with that as well. And 1 Change of Heart to help with taking one of your opponent's unit and potentially using it against them. So this is the Boba that made third place, so managed to get in top 4, and on its journey we can see it did pretty well, only losing one game, which is to Tristan. I think was also one of the ever Bobas in the mid top 8, so only lost to one of the ever players that made top 8, and had a fair bit of meta decks to play against. I played against two Boba. I had two other mirrors with Boba. Played against Palpatine as well. A set to solo and a Kira, and the only ones that kind of aren't the like meta is Vader and Boss get played against. So yeah, played two Kira and beat them both. Which that's the thing. Like I've seen people say like Kira is Boba's worst matchup, but like I get Akira is like a control is something that Boba is hard to go against, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's like the one of the worst matchups you can face. Is like a terrible one, but you got enough hand control in it to kind of help whittle down Kira's hand, so they're having less options and less things to do. And even then, if they deploy Kira, if you can put a Boba's armor on the Boba when it's deployed, you have a little easier time to kind of it like survive because it takes damage. And even if Kira doesn't deploy until after you put the armor on, it's going to be dealing a lot less damage because Boba's armor is going to protect it. And not all Kira lists are running Rivals Full to kind of deal with Boba. So when Boba comes out, they're having a hard time dealing with it, and where they can have an easy time hitting it straight away with Rivals Full. Because that's the main reason people go for Kira, is because the fact that you can take out leaders without needing things like that in the main. But like I said, it went through, going 7-1, only losing to another Boba, and then taking out the only Rey in the top 8, and then losing to the Palpatine that went on to the finals in top 4. So that's third place. Now let's check out that Palpatine we were just talking about, that made us to second place. So here we have second place, being the blue Palpatine that made it all the way through to the finals, and then ended up just falling short, but putting on a pretty good go of it, and also with a pretty nice list. So we went for Palpatine Blue, which is one of the ways you can play Palpatine that is pretty popular with Palpatine. I think most of the time it's playing blue, and then like green was a good option for execution multiple ramp, but also there's yellow version of Palpatine as well, which is being more aggressive and more comboy. But you can see it's pretty standard. I've seen we've got some of them that are using more scanning officer because there's more smuggle, like more decks to have smuggle options, stuff like be able to hit things with smuggle, especially if you're opponent is deck that plays tech, be able to hit at least guarantee you killing 3 of their resources and then replacing with something different. So they're like kind of thinning out as well, which is pretty cool. Which is one of the ways that pub can win is by like deck out, and pretty standard with most of it as well. Like the Blacks and Starfighter and the make an opening in the deal like out with space units and also take out those pesky other TIE Fighters that people like things that Boba will side in to help like make it harder for you to deal with. And then interestingly, no Maul as well. Like I've seen no Maul, but then again it's an underworld card. It's not an Imperial or anything like that, or an official, but still having Vader as well. That can chuck out quite a few units as well, and quite a few good options. And yeah, like Snoke is a very good card. Like I didn't really believe in Smoke. Like think it was that great when I first looked. I think it's a very high costing card, just as -2/2, taken out easily because I just mostly was playing things like things like way to put back in hand, like playing yellow and playing blue. You normally either put back in hand or remove it from board quite easily, either removing it or bouncing it out. So I never thought it was worth. But then seeing it played in action against other people and seeing the use of it seems actually pretty good. Now, Side's quite interesting. He's got restock, so it can kind of hold off in decking out. So when it comes to a deck out race, it can win with restock in there. He's also got devotion as well as an extra way to kind of like heal because he's not playing any of the client, which is interesting. He's not playing any client or any like Pershing as well to kind of give a hold of because those are some good cards that have come in for set 2 to kind of help out. Like Pershing be able to give like up your hand, but then Palpatine also already has a good way of like kind of generating advantage by his own effect. But even then, the client offering more options of heal and coming in shielded is a pretty nice, good way and pretty hard to deal with by Boba as well. But imagine those ones are ones that are quite hard to deal with. Even against Sabine, you can have it out shielded, so it's harder if you're running the move, and then use it to go ahead and put a bounce on something, so you can then take it out, and then get back some health as well. It's pretty interesting that it wasn't played as well, especially since it can be brought out by things like Vader. And then the side has got some extra two Father Dragons to come in, so it's got a fair few events, but it's not got the cerebral events. It's got more sided to help deal with certain matchups, and even like one Rebels 4 in the main, and then one sided, and then 3 copies of Relentless. So if it comes against the ever hard control, it can drop that as well to help deal with it a little bit easier. So pretty standard, but some pretty interesting choices. But it worked for him pretty well because he managed to get all the way to the finals with it, which is pretty good. And we're kind of see why. So if you look at this was his run up to the top 4. Like, nothing to take away from the person who played it. It did very well. Ended up going at 6-2, so managing to be one of the 2 lucky people from X who went at X2 to jump into the top cup. Only losing to the Han that made it into top 8 as well, and to a Sabine as well, which is expected. And as you see, Sabine is one of the worst matchups you can play against, play into with Palpatine. And he only played against 1 of the 30 it was in it. But then even then, if he did play against more Sabine, it might not have been the best because, like as I said, a lot of Sabine were probably new players who were not as experienced or just getting into the game, just brand new with the deck stuff. So there were players playing it because it's quite a cheap, easy budget deck to pick up and be competitive with. But outside the only playing one of his worst matchup, did play against a fair few meta, going against multiple Bobas over the whole course of time. He played against 5 Bobas, winning all 3 of his top day 2 games with Boba, and winning against out of him 4 of the 5 Bobas he played against. Also beating 2 Kira. 2 set 2 hands, and also playing against 1 of the 2 Grand Inquisitors, which is interesting that it was doing that well up until that point. But as you see, yeah, played again, didn't run into many Sabines on the many of us. Quite got lucky, win events as well with things like that, where you have some quite bad matchups, or sometimes it can come down to what you play against, and sometimes I found even more myself with UKG, I managed to avoid all Sabine with Vader, hard control Vader in the day 1, and then play against it in top 8 and just basically get demolished. And then for day 2, when I played the same deck, I managed to go mostly all Sabine and had a hard time. So it comes down to your what you play against can determine how well you do. And he managed to avoid all his worst matchup, which is quite lucky. But still, congrats to the player as well. Did very well. And then now we're going to go have a look and see the winning profile that ended up taking it and going in first place. So here we have first place being the eventual winner of the tournament being Boba Green. So Boba taking yet another event, and also another Boba Green taking it as well. I can't remember, there hasn't been many tournaments since set 2, but it's one that you kind of haven't seen much of. Like most people playing Boba on Boba Yellow, because it'd be very flexible and very aggressive. But Boba Green is one that was very popular, probably the more popular version in set 1, and is still shown to be a very good when you play set 1. And also, Josh is a very experienced TCG player as well. I know him from back in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Final Fantasy. Was a very good player for both those games, and even won the world champion at one point for Final Fantasy as well. So very, very good in that. Very good card games. You can even check out his Discord as well, where he goes over his tournament reports from his locals and stuff, his testing with the game as well. And also, you notice as well, he also is playing a higher deck than most. He's playing a 54 card deck. Now you might be thinking that is not a great way to play, because putting your deck above 50, you're lowering the consistency. But he has got some maths, I think, in one of his reports, his little write-ups he does, where he goes over the reason why he plays 54, like I said, with the math behind it as well, explaining it, which is very good, and a very good read as well if you want to go check that out. And it's still, he's proven, even though he's going over 50 and also playing at Boba Green, which is one you wouldn't expect, he still went on to win the event and even go undefeated for the whole tournament as well. He didn't lose might have lost a game, but didn't lose a single match as well throughout the tournament, going 11-0 for a tournament, so winning, got undefeated day 1 and then winning it all the rest on day 2 as well. And this was this, and it's not, you could probably say it's pretty standard, but there are some choices you wouldn't expect as well. Tron V-Wing in most decks as well, and also plays a full playset at McClunky, which is not really much something you see played in many of the Boba decks. You don't really see many McClunkies in the decks. Also playing with the upgrades being free max amount of Hotshot Blaster being a very good choice, and one copy of Jetpack as well, along with free Bulba's Armor. So the only one from the top cut that was playing a full playset of Bulba's Armor, the other one's not either playing two or none at all. Also, you notice with some choices as well, only two Greedo, which is interesting, and also two Crumb being very good. Crumb being very nice to be able to be a card you print out Vader, so you can get more value with Crumb, and also like a Bazine potentially as well for some more choices. So you can get two out to being control card from hand, also heal as well, getting more value on the board, and also as well going with Cold as well, which you don't see played. You used to play in some decks, but it's a very nice one and gives you pretty nice targets because I can either get you out a Greedo or Crumb. You can also get your V-Wing as well, so you gain some cards in hand, get a cheap unit on board, and also gain some cards. And also Bazine and Cloud Rise as well to be able to ambush and control hand. Also, you notice that he wasn't really playing any big space units. So with the space units, he's only playing the two copies of Patrol and V-Wing, the free 7 Fleet Defenders, and also the free Fet's Fire Spray. So not many space units, opting for only 8. Not even slide anything any, because sometimes you see some play at least some cartel spaces or even a new gunship. Not playing any of those as well, just focusing more on the Grand Arena and proposing value as well. Because if you look at list, it is good value, focus on like going for the ramp, also then getting out those big value plays with like ambushing Vader and Maul when you want to take something out immediately, and having patrol reinforcement walker, then start healing or gaining more advantage as we go on. And if you go and look at the side, he's then got a third copy of No Good Be Dead when he needs it. Waylay as well for like the event to be able to bounce things out to play. So you spend time playing a big unit like a Crate Dragon, bounce it back out so you can have an answer to it. One on-off aspect with Feldrang, which is a kind of permanent way to kind of deal with something as well, which you don't really have access to that much in yellow or green. So having that as well to deal with it's pretty nice. It does cost 6, but could be worth it in the right situation. Also, 2 copies of Palpatine's Return in the side, so that way you can make more use off of both Vader and Maul to like get more copies of them. Essentially, you have more copies, so once you use one, you can use it again. Or even bring out some other cards, like bring in a Fet's Fire Spray that you've lost back in the play, then attack with it if you need to attack straight away. So it's not just Palpatine's Return, even though it does reduce the cost of the card by 6 and potentially more if it's a Force unit. It is not restricted to just Force units, it could be any units. You can even bring Fet's Fire Spray out to kind of then be able to attack straight to base, because one thing Ambush can't do is let you attack the base, but can let you attack other units. So have an option to either bring some Ambush to control board, or if you want to go with damage to base, bring it back out of Fet's Fire Spray you might have lost earlier in the game. It's pretty nice. An interesting one being Choose Sides. So this is a card that is you don't really like. You haven't seen any lists, but Josh decided to go ahead and play 2 of them. Oh, no, 3 of them in there. So he's playing 3 of them in his list. And you might be wondering, what is this card? Well, this is the card. So it's Choose Sides, and it allows you to choose a friendly non-leader unit and an enemy non-leader unit, and exchange control of those. Imagine a pretty interesting one you could do is like Ambush Invader, clear something on your opponent's board, and then get out some things. Like you can get out like a Bazine and a Crumb, make use of them, and there they are. And then if your opponent then goes ahead and plays a big unit, so they play a pretty nice big one, you can then go use Choose Sides in the next turn to go and choose their unit. So choose their unit they've got that's big, and choose your little unit like Bazine, and then switch control. So they can have the Bazine, you can have their big unit just played. So if your opponent plays even plays a Crate Dragon, you can go and take control of it. So that way you might take 7 damage because of this, but then you give them a unit that's quite weak, and then you take the Crate Dragon, which now you basically, if they play anything, you can start damaging them or them hitting their base to be more aggressive and just have make a horrible situation for them. So it's quite an interesting card to have inside. It'd be interesting, like the hero from Josh eventually when he puts up their profile does anything or write up to kind of understand why Choose Sides was in there, because it's a pretty interesting one and it's pretty interesting to know the reason for it, because it's not one you see play often. But then for Josh, in his run up, as I said, he went undefeated throughout the whole thing, so he won everything, and he did play quite basically all meta. He played against all meta, which is pretty nice to go against. So he ended up going against 2 Sabine, being one in the main, one in the day 1 and one in the top cup, and won in both. He also played against a lot of Boba, none in the top cup, but he played against 4 in Swiss. Played against a good 4, winning those as well. To play against 2 set 2 hand and also only 1 Kira, so you didn't play against many Kira, but then did beat the one he played against. They wanted to hit top cut, then yeah, as I said, played Sabine, and then hit 2 of the control being a harder matchup to deal with in Bubba, not impossible, but a little bit harder. And he ended up taking them all out, playing a double green Palpatine and a green blue as well. So, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
Like a boss.